So in this episode, the USS Discovery has been upgraded with 32nd century technology like programmable matter and detached warp nacelles. Admiral Vance is handing out assignments to various Starfleet captains, and Saru wants to be given something to do, but given that Discovery can teleport, he wants to keep them around for emergencies. He then has to explain the spore drive to these other captains, but swears them to secrecy. Vance says that the Emerald Chain look like they are up to something on a planet called Argeth, so he tells Saru to be ready to be deployed there. Lieutenant Willa gives the Discovery crew their comm badges that also work as tricorders and transporters, and shows them how to use the programmable matter helm consoles. They're still getting used to all of this clearly because Linus accidentally transports into the captain's chair. Discovery gets a hail from Booker's ship, but Grudge is all the bridge sees on the view screen. Then we see a recorded holographic message from Booker to Michael in which he tells her that he has overheard a guy talking about a black box that might be from one of the ships that blew up during the burn. He said he was going to look for it, but it's in Emerald Chain territory, so he programmed the ship to return to Federation headquarters if things don't go well. So he's clearly in trouble, and the message was sent 3 weeks ago. The black boxes they have so far show that the burn hit different ships at different times. So it wasn't an instantaneous event across all of space, but rather something that emanated outward from a central location. If they can find more black boxes, that can give them clues as to where the cause of the burn was. Michael wants to go to Hunau, the planet where the black box was found, but Saru wants to listen to Admiral Vance and stick around so that they can get to Argeth if something happens there. Michael doesn't want to wait around since Booker is in danger. Saru says no, so she asks Giorgio to help out. They take Book's ship to Hunau on an unsanctioned mission. It seemed odd to me that just Michael and Giorgio going would be unsanctioned when Vance just needs Discovery to go to Argeth. Could they really not spare just a couple of crew members for a little while? Giorgio speculates that Michael has feelings for Book, then has a weird seizure-like episode full of disturbing flashbacks to the mirror universe. Michael notices this, but Giorgio tries to hide it. They reach Hunau, and a hologram of an Orion appears and tells them that it's a private salvage yard and wants to know what they're doing there. At this point I noticed that Orions don't look quite like they do in any other iteration of Star Trek. Instead of just being painted green, they now have this makeup that makes their faces look thicker. They all look like Robert Zadar now. Giorgio tells him that they're there to sell some stuff, and he tells her to go to the local Bajoran exchange. But she insists on beaming down to the planet, which the Orion guy warns her not to do because the planet's auto-defense systems will take out her ship. She tells him that she has dilithium to sell, and that she'll tell his boss if he continues to keep her from going to the planet, so he lets them land. Tilly goes to her headquarters and finds Grudge sitting on her bed. She asks the computer where Burnham is, and the computer tells her that she's not on board. Turns out that the guy who tried to keep Giorgio and Burnham from landing is the nephew of Osira, the leader of the Emerald Chain. He implies to them that everyone working in his scrapyard is Osira's slave, and Giorgio says she wants to meet Osira. Burnham tells the guy that they're looking for self-sealing stem bolts, which are often mentioned on Star Trek whenever they need some object that sounds technical to talk about. Giorgio specifies that they're looking for stuff from before the year 2400, and the Orion guy offers her a phaser, but Giorgio rejects it and shows him a 23rd century tricorder as an example of the kind of antiques they're looking for. An Andorian guy is implanting an explosive device into the neck of one of the workers, and we see Book carrying some pipes with a Bajoran guy. Book explains that Rin, the Andorian guy, will be killed by Osira if he doesn't put those devices into people. That's when Book and Michael notice each other. The Orion guy catches the Bajoran guy stealing some water rations, so he forces him to walk into a force field that makes the thing in his neck explode. Back on the Discovery, Adira is working in engineering, and Gray is complaining that Adira never does anything fun. Stamets walks in and complains that things in engineering are still a mess, and Linus accidentally transports in. Adira redesigned the spore drive with a nanogel interface, so the shunts and Stamets' arms are no longer necessary. Giorgio distracts the Orion guy so Michael can talk to Book. He tells her to go to his quarters to get the black box and go. He intends to get himself off the planet. There's only 43 minutes until Book's shift change, and he doesn't think that's enough time to help him escape. He explains that Rin tried to organize a rebellion, so Osira cut off his antennae and gave him the job of giving everyone else implants. Andorians are supposed to lose their sense of balance if their antennae are damaged, which doesn't seem to be the case with Rin, but maybe they get used used to it after a while. Saru explains to Tilly where Michael has gone and expresses regret at how little he trusts her now. Tilly agrees that Michael has put Saru in an unfair situation given that her insubordination makes him look like he has no control over his crew, so she recommends he tell the Admiral about Michael. If Saru tells him, it will at least look like he's taking responsibility. Burnham and Giorgio are being followed around by a drone, so Michael destroys it. A bunch of goons point their weapons at them. Rin gives Booker the black box. Saru tells Admiral Vance that Michael has gone on her unauthorized adventure, but assures him that the crew is still ready to jump to Argith whenever that's necessary. Vance tells Saru to stand by to jump on his orders since the Emerald Chain has pulled out of negotiations with the Federation. The Orion guy takes Burnham and Giorgio as prisoners, and they board Booker's ship where he and his goons find his dilithium. Rin and Booker lead a slave revolt, and Booker blows up the Scavenger facility while Burnham fights the Orion guy. Giorgio tries to help fight, but collapses while having more flashbacks. She finally manages to get the controller from him, which turns off the fence that blows people's heads up. The slaves run past the fence, but Rin gets shot. Burnham shoots at the junkyard guards from Booker's ship and beams Booker and Rin on board. Giorgio shoots down one of the Orion's ships and it crashes into the salvage warehouse. Booker gives Michael the black box that he found. Burnham confronts Giorgio about these episodes she's been having, and she admits that she's been having this problem for weeks. She doesn't want anyone to know because she doesn't want to show weakness, but Burnham insists she get help. Burnham asks Giorgio to trust her, but because the mirror universe Burnham couldn't be trusted, Giorgio has trouble doing that. Stamets sees Adira talking to Gray, but from his perspective, they're talking to nobody. He asks them about it, and they explain that they can talk to their former symbiote host. Stamets says that he can relate given that Dr. Culber died and now he's alive again. Adira says they can help Stamets with his interface shunts. Burnham visits Rin in sickbay, and Booker says that the doctor told him that he should be fine. Booker apologizes for having to be saved by Burnham when she was needed elsewhere. They're about to kiss when Linus accidentally transports into the turbo lift. As soon as he transports away, Booker kisses Michael. Stamets explains to Culber that Adira removed his interface shunts, and Culber infers that Adira and Stamets have gotten close because they have a lot in common. Vance tells Saru that while Burnham's mission disobeyed orders, he probably would have approved it anyway had he been consulted because the intel was worth the risk. Still, he scolds Burnham for abandoning the ship when it could have ended up having to deal with the Emerald Chain. Burnham reiterates the importance of finding what caused the burn to the future of the Federation. Saru decides to return Burnham to the position of science officer since she can't be relied upon to be first officer. My favorite things about this season are the bits with Adira and Gray and also the stuff with Cronenberg. This episode had very little of either of those things, so it was largely boring for me. I didn't find the junkyard revolt very compelling. I don't find the romance between Booker and Burnham very interesting, nor did I feel like Burnham being busted back down to science officer deserved the emotional weight that it was given, considering the fact that she never wanted to be first officer in the first place. Given that she didn't want to be first officer, it probably would have been more responsible for her to resign from that position and have Saru appoint a new number one instead of leaving the ship completely without a number one. Saru was supposed to punish Burnham for this. Firing her from the job of first officer isn't even a punishment. They both played the scene like they were really sad though, when neither of them should have been.